Next, the clerk will take the roll.
Commissioner Heinrich.
Here.
Commissioner Brassad. Here. Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Jepson. Here. Commissioner Meisner. Here.
And only Commissioner Reiner not feeling well this morning. Item number 5 is the approval of minutes from the March 25th, 2025 County Board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schulte. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Heinrich. Any changes, questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. We'll move down to chair's remarks. We have a few this morning. We have 3 items that are under our chair's remarks today. The first is a resolution proclaiming April 13th through the 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Commissioner Brassad, who serves as the lead commissioner for the Public Safety Committee of the whole, will lead our conversation and introduce our guest this morning. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. This is honestly one of my favorite weeks of the year. Anything to do with public safety is right up there for me. I'm honored to be part of proclaiming April 13th to 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Our Anoka County emergency telecommunicators perform an essential function in our society. They are the first and most critical contact citizens have with emergency services. Anoka County's 911 staff fielded more than 400,000 emergency and non-emergency calls a year, with 95% of those calls answered in less than 10 seconds. That's an astounding level of service, and we should commend all our telecommunicators for their dedication to their jobs and to our public. The public safety telecommunicators of Anoka County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. Each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance of their job in the past year. I'm very grateful and thankful for each one of you. Now let me introduce Director of our Anoka County ECC, Carrie Morrissey, to tell us more about all the great work our EC staff is doing and maybe comment on our new digs that you've got going out there.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. Thank you. We just first want to thank all of you for our new building that started in this room, giving us that.
I'm not sure if I would have shown, but no, that's great. And I want to thank you all, the emergency communications and all the staff members. And I'm going to let Commissioner Brassad offer the resolutions. Commissioner, do that.
I'm honored to offer the resolution.
This is Resolution 2025-47, proclaiming April 13th through the 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. And I'm asking fellow commissioners to join us in support of this. We do it every year because it's so vitally important. This is a little special year. Running. I can see all the smiles on your faces. You guys are great. So I really appreciate everything and everybody else. Commissioner Brassad.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say something, but I think back to January of 2013, and that's when both Scott Schulte and I started serving on the board, and our first visit down to 911 in the basement of the courthouse government center. And I just could not believe that we had this apartment down like in the cellar in the basement. And so both Commissioner Schulte and I agreed that this was going to be a priority. So government does not move fast, right? But we've come full circle, and I just could not be more excited for you guys to be in that new building and better surroundings. And like Carrie mentioned, retention and hiring. The place to be up here, especially our radio shop. So thank you guys.
Resident of Angeles is 295 and former mayor. We're very happy that you're in this. Great place to have a beautiful building. I think you'll really enjoy not only the building, but also some of the amenities around the building, parks, system.
Mr. Chair, you just spurred a thought in my head. As a lifelong Coon Rapids resident and former city council member, that's right on the border of Coon Rapids, so thank you. To the border of Coon Rapids. And thank you for your work in public safety. As Commissioner Brasted said, it has been a priority, not just for her and I, but for this board. We all believe in public safety, and this has been on the forefront of our facilities management program. I'm glad it came to fruition. We worked hard at it. And not a lot of good things came out of the COVID crisis. This is one thing that got pushed to the front financially out of that process. And I, for one, am thrilled that it did. Congratulations.
And with that, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Congratulations, you guys are. And we'll move down to our next item. And as you can see by Commissioner Brasted's yellow and my Jerry Garcia yellow spring tie, spring is officially here, which means it's time to talk about mosquitoes. Managing these pests is constantly on the minds of the Metropolitan Mosquito Control District staff, and I'm thankful they're here to help lessen the impact of these biting insects in the metro area. Commissioner Heinrich, who serves on the the Metropolitan Mosquito Control District Board, will introduce our guests from the MMCD, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Heinrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Gamache. It's just been a short time since I've been able to serve on the board here. I've been to a few meetings here this spring, but already learning so much and very impressed with your work and the impact that you have in our community. So, mosquitoes to many people are simply a nuisance when they're thick. They might ruin a backyard grill out or a camping trip. People oftentimes view them as pests whose bites simply result in red, raised, itchy bumps. But mosquitoes can be disease carriers that spread illness, such as West Nile, both Western and Eastern equine encephalitis, La Crosse encephalitis, and dog heartworm. These diseases can be mild for some people and animals, but there are documented cases where they've led to serious illness and even fatalities. So it's important to control the mosquito population when and where possible. This is where the MMCD comes in. They're experts in intervening in the mosquito life cycle to reduce their numbers throughout our metro area, and they offer useful education about how to control mosquito populations in our yards. Now let me introduce MMCD Executive Director Daniel Huff and Public Affairs Manager Alex Carlson to tell us more about the work of MMCD and what we can expect in this upcoming mosquito season. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Commissioner Heinrich for that great introduction. My name is Daniel Huff. I am the Executive Director for the Metropolitan Mosquito Control District. As Commissioner Heinrich said, I'm joined by Alex Carlson. I'm also joined by Dave Dirkswager. Dave is the manager for our Anoka County office, which is also in Andover. Actually adjacent to the 911 office, so very near Coon Rapids is what I understand. But really appreciate being able to come to you and appreciate the service of Commissioner Meisner, Commissioner Reinhardt, and Commissioner Heinrich representing Anoka County on our commission this year, and previous service by Commissioner Gamache, Mr. Chair, and Commissioner Jepson, so thank you. But I'm going to turn it over to Alex to give an update on who we are, what we're doing, and what we expect for this year.
Dan. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is my 6th year or 6th season at Mosquito Control, but I never lose excitement about talking about mosquitoes and getting people excited about all the information that's out there that the public may not be aware of, all the kind of behind the scenes work that goes on for mosquito control, in ponds and wetlands and kind of the tucked away hidden areas. So I'm going to do a little overview about just some basics about the mosquito life cycle and biology, but then talk about what we saw last year and what we can expect this year, with the big question we always get is, what's the mosquito forecast for 2025? So we'll do our best to offer some projections. But MMCD's been around since 1958. Our governance is the elected county commissioners, so we're honored to have Commissioner Reinert, Meisner, and Heinrich serve on our board for 2025. We're one of the biggest mosquito districts in the country in terms of service area, so we have 2,900 square miles that we cover, and that really gives us a big advantage when it comes to our practices, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Over 3 million people live in our service area, and we have over 80,000 wetland habitats, which is very important, and you'll understand why when we talk about the mosquito life cycle. Our funding comes from property taxes, so the median home pays about $11 per year towards mosquito control services, which we think is a pretty good deal for all the services, which include comprehensive mosquito surveillance and control, mosquito-borne disease suppression. As Commissioner Heinrich mentioned, mosquitoes aren't just a nuisance, they can also cause illness, so one of our main goals is public health. We do tick-borne disease surveillance, finding and locating ticks and reporting to different agencies about the tick activity. Public education is very important. Knowing more about mosquitoes helps people take proper precautions. And then we also do some control for black flies or the biting gnats, which come out of rivers and streams. But just a quick background on mosquitoes. The mosquitoes have a 4-stage life cycle: egg, larva, pupa, and then adult. We have over 3,000 species in the world, but here in Minnesota, about 52 are established here. And of those, only about 20 or so are what we consider our human biting species or our public health concerns. So a little bit more than half the species that we have don't bother with mammals at all. They exclusively feed on frogs or on birds or on other species. And so our focus is really those 20 or so that are a human concern, and especially the ones that we consider are disease vectors that can spread diseases that can make people sick or can cause some serious harm. We follow the rain in the summer. So there's 2 main types of mosquito eggs. There's the floodwater mosquito eggs, which lay their eggs on the edge of a pond or marsh and then wait for rain to hatch them. And then they come out of the water about a week later. So when we see a big rain, it's usually about 5 to 7 days later, you're going to see that spike in mosquito activity. We also have container breeding or standing water breeding mosquitoes that aren't as dependent on rain because they'll find any sources of existing water and lay those eggs. Mosquito habitat looks like this. There's ponds and stagnant marshes that are always holding water, even in drier years. And then there's floodwater sites that are designed to flood up after it rains. And then a lot of people produce man-made habitats of mosquitoes, whether it's things you leave out like piles of tires or buckets or tree holes. We do a lot of work on catch basins or stormwater drains because those hold a lot of stagnant water. So we check those and try to eliminate larvae from there. But that's just part of our public education to remind people, don't create additional mosquito habitat with your activities. Every year we get calls from people that are reporting high mosquito activity, and then we find their neighbor has a kiddie pool that they filled up and then they just left out for a couple weeks and it's full of mosquito larvae. So people can be part of the problem and also part of the solution. So that's part of our public awareness campaigns. But it all starts with surveillance. Good mosquito control starts with the data to justify what treatments are going out there. And that starts with wetland surveillance. So when you see our staff out, a lot of times what we're doing is wetland surveillance using our favorite tool, the long-handled dipper, where they're skimming the surface where the larva tends to congregate, checking out how much we find and sending it back in vials to our entomology lab to be identified. We also do adult surveillance where we're collecting the flying mosquitoes. So we do traps. We set up about 200 traps every Monday night from about mid-May to the end of September. And then we also do some human-baited collections where we have volunteers stand out in their yard and wait for the mosquitoes to come to them, and then use a little net to catch anything that's trying to bite them. Just because not all mosquitoes are attracted to the attractants that we put in the traps, so sometimes we just want to know what's biting at people, and that's what we use those sweep collections for. So it's a good way for volunteers to get some bites for science. So we take all that data and it helps us direct our programming. We have an entomology lab in St. Paul with several full-time entomologists. We also have a full-time vector ecologist who can determine where disease species are showing up. We have seasonal staff of students and people who work in the summer who come and help with taxonomy and identifying the different species. But those larval species, we're identifying them to see if they're a human-biting species and need to be treated. And then for the adult species, we're trying to separate out the disease vectors. And we actually have a lab on site where we can test for West Nile virus. So we can usually be ahead of potential outbreaks by finding the mosquito populations that are carrying the disease before it becomes a human health issue. When it comes to controlling mosquitoes, a lot of people know MMCD because of our helicopters. They see the air show that our helicopters put on flying low over ponds and wetlands. And when we're doing those treatments, we're dropping dry granules that have an active ingredient that controls mosquito larvae. So we're never doing sprays from those helicopters. So anything that is designed to land right in the water and it activates when it hits the water. They're very safe materials. Our main active ingredient is BTI, which has been used for decades and widely shown to only target mosquito larvae, the specific gut of a mosquito larva. So fish can eat it and other insects can encounter it and not have any impact. It's really specific to mosquito larvae. So that's our main method. We consider ourselves a larval control agency. And the table here in the display shows, last year was a very high year because it was a very wet year. So we had a lot of rain. So we did a lot of acres of larval control. But even with all the moisture that we had, we didn't do that much adult control. Adult control is really something we reserve for disease suppression, or we work with cities or communities if there's going to be a large public event. We can work with them to do some treatments there to help the public that will be attending that event not get eaten up by mosquitoes. Mosquito-borne diseases, Commissioner Heinrich did a great job outlining some of the big ones that we have in Minnesota. Luckily, our winters protect us from some of the more dangerous tropical diseases, like malaria and dengue fever and yellow fever, the ones that tend to make the news. But we do find cases every year of West Nile virus, Jamestown Canyon virus. Lacrosse encephalitis is a little bit more rare, but it can be very dangerous for young children. So we do a lot of preventative work to prevent lacrosse encephalitis, triple E or Eastern equine encephalitis, and then dog heartworm. Good reminder that people aren't the only things that get sick from mosquitoes. Your furry friends can as well, and summer is really the time that they're most at risk. Environmental stewardship or integrated pest management is very important to us. So the basic idea behind integrated pest management is our goal is to eliminate very specific target species of mosquitoes with minimal or no harms to anything else that's in the ecosystem. Whether that's humans or pets or other animals, even other insects. We want to protect pollinators like bees and butterflies. So over the many, many years of our program, we've really refined our practices to be very targeted. And we know that we're doing a good job of eliminating those species that people are most concerned about and having very, very little impact on the species we want to protect, like the monarch butterfly and bees and things like that. Our program is reviewed by a technical advisory board every year, panel of scientists that looks over everything just to make sure that we're operating safely and efficiently. So last year was a strange year. I feel like every year I come up and say last year was a strange year because there's no normal anymore. But last year we had a very wet year. After 3 consecutive years of drought, we had a consistent rain pretty much from mid-April through the beginning of August, where we had usually about an inch or more of rain every single week. But we didn't quite see the spike in mosquitoes that we would have expected because of that. One factor is the cattail mosquitoes, which are a species that actually is based on the previous year's rain. So we had come off a drought year, so those species were low last year. I'll share what our prediction is for them this year based on last year's rain, but we didn't see the midsummer spike that we normally see. And then also just coming off of 3 years of drought, we expect that the main floodwater species were just so low because they hadn't been active the past 3 years. Even with the rain, they weren't really able to rebound fully. Last year was also a strange winter. We saw, pretty mild winter, so we found our first deer tick on February 5th and our first mosquito larva on February 26th. We found both this year, but they were much later. The larva wasn't found until March 17th this year, and then the deer tick was just found about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We've had other reports of people finding deer ticks, but they were out much later this year. And then there were fewer disease conditions. The disease outbreaks tend to go in opposite of the nuisance mosquitoes. So in a wet year, we don't see as many cases of West Nile virus, whereas in a hot, dry year, those species tend to thrive, and we might see more cases. So that's the trend we typically see. For Anoka County specifically, we did more larval inspection. We did twice as many acres of larval treatment in Anoka County last year. That was our big thing, just because we had so many rain events that we had to respond to. Our helicopters were up almost every week. We did slightly more adult mosquito treatments, but it's really larvals where we really had to add more last year. Because we were doing more larval treatment, it took up so much of our staff time. We did fewer of our other daily activities like catch basin treatments. We did slightly fewer tire recycles. recycling events, and then we did have fewer customer calls last year despite the rain. So hopefully that means that we were doing a good job out in the community and people weren't getting bitten up quite as much despite the rain. Budgetarily, this is the difference this year. Again, it's about $11 per year for the average home. Just looking across the Anoka County levy specifically, there's only a $23,000 increase year over year, and that's going to help us reach our budgetary goals in the coming year. Looking for the plans in terms of MMCD for 2025, a big thing for us this year is we're continuing to expand our drone program. So we've added about 1 or 2 drones each year. This year we were able to add enough so that each facility will have drones. Anoka County is actually going to have 2 drones in the area. And this really helps with those kind of medium to small size wetlands that are too small for the helicopter but very hard to get to just by a staff on the ground. And so this is going to be a lot more effective. Hopefully we're going to be more efficient in our treatments. It's more safe for our staff because they don't have to put on the full chest waders and go into the water and with a backpack. So it's quicker and safer, and we're excited about this. We're working on a new strategic plan. So Commissioner Meisner has been part of the process, meeting and developing a strategic plan with the Prouty Project. So we're going to be unveiling that in May and enacting it throughout the next couple of years. We're continuing to increase our educational outreach, and we have several new staff that we're excited about. We're hiring a new entomologist. Our main entomologist, Diane Crane, is retiring at the end of April after almost 40 years of service at Mosquito Control. So we're going to miss her knowledge very much, but we are looking to hire a new entomologist. We've brought on a new vector ecologist just in the past month. A new quality assurance specialist, we're hiring a new business administrator, and then we've added a couple field supervisors, 1 new here in Anoka County. Well, 2 new in Anoka County, but 1 new more than we had last year. So we went from 5 to 6, just because there's a lot of wetlands up in this area, so it keeps our staff very busy. The mosquito prediction for 2025. So this is the Star Tribune did a story about this last year, but the big thing we're predicting this year is the cattail mosquitoes will be back. The cattails come back the very next day. You look at the past couple of years, 2022, 2023, 2024, following drought years, those were very low. But because we had so much rain last year, we actually are finding 4 times as much breeding in the cattail sites than we did this time last year. So we're going to see a big spike in cattail-like mosquitoes right around the middle of summer. It'll be the worst the further you get out from the district. We're going to do our best to find these and do our control work to make sure that number isn't as bad. But if you're going up to the cabin and around the 4th of July, you're going to see a lot of those mosquitoes out. Beyond that, predicting mosquitoes is like predicting the weather. We have a pretty good idea what the next week or 2 might be, but beyond that, it's very hard to predict. The National Weather Service is predicting this is going to be a drier summer, especially in those peak months of June, July, August. So we'll see if that prediction holds true. That would be good to lower those floodwater mosquitoes, so that's just the cattail mosquitoes spiking. But we'll see. We wrote a full blog post on this at our website if you want a little bit more details about what we're expecting for this year. For residents, some good resources. Our website has a lot of great tools. You can find out about helicopter activity, weekly updates about mosquito activity, interactive maps where you can click around and view what the mosquito breeding sites are looking like, about 20 years of treatment history at all of those. And you can also submit if you have requests for additional areas that might need to be checked out or tire recycling, things like that. These are the maps that I mentioned. You can look up your neighborhood and find out all the mosquito breeding sites. You might be surprised. It's probably not the big pond that's producing mosquitoes. Maybe it's just the roadside ditch or something like that. So it's a cool tool for people to have access to. We encourage people to sign up for email alerts. We send alerts out at least 24 hours in advance of any adult mosquito activity, and usually about the week before or the week of helicopter activity, just to notify that helicopters are going to be out. And then we do a lot of public outreach. So we're always trying to expand our event attendance. We do parades. There's our mascot in the foreground there. Her name is Victoria. So she makes appearances at parades and other events throughout the summer. So if you know any events or groups that we should connect with, please let us know. We've also been doing a lot of outreach to cities. So we've been kind of visiting city councils and providing updates as well. So if you have any city connections that you think would be good for us to reach out to, please let us know. And with that, I'm briefly going to hand it over to Dan before we open it up for questions.
Thank you, Alex. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just to reiterate some of the things that Alex said specific to Anoka County. So Anoka County, you have the most breeding sites of any county in the metro. In fact, you have almost twice as much as the other 6 counties combined. So this year we have added additional resources. As Alex said, we've added a new field crew supervisor in Anoka County. We've added a new drone. Dave and his team are starting treatment next week of those cattail mosquitoes that Alex mentioned, because we want to get ahead of those. So we are significantly increasing the amount of treatment that we are doing in Anoka County this year. You can see that we doubled the amount from the previous year, from last year to the previous year. So really doing what we can to make sure that we're serving your residents and providing the best value that we can for the taxpayers. We do invite people to sign up, to go to our website. And one of the things that we have done this year, because we're very innovative, if we have launched our laser loon program to tackle the mosquitoes directly. But we do have, you can win one of these t-shirts if you go to our website, sign up for our alerts, or just put your name in there. And our tagline, which is making the outdoors better since 1958. So please go to our website, enter to win a t-shirt, and learn a lot more about mosquitoes. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Both Alex and Dan for being here and joining us today to talk about the important ways that the MMCD works to reduce our mosquito population. As they pointed out, we have the most breeding areas around. I also noticed as I was driving by yesterday, you have a help wanted sign or now hiring sign out there. Do you want to speak on what people should do? Just pull in and walk in?
Mr. Chair, that's a great question. So we hire a lot of seasonal folks every year. You have to be 18 years old and you have to have a driver's license. And you get out in the field all summer long. You go to our website and apply right there. We're hiring here at our Anoka facility, but also at our other facilities in the metro area. And we've had a really good response this year. But yeah, please take a look at that. We always welcome more folks. Retirees, it's a great way to stay active and get to interact with a lot of folks, especially young people. We have students that often come, and then just other folks who love to get outside, do some good work for the community this summer.
Great. I signed up last year to get updates, so does that carry over to this year? Do I have to go back and sign up again?
Nope, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, good. It does help. I've gotten calls from residents. I also will usually get a call from a certain establishment in Fridley, crooners, where they like to do outside music concerts in tents, and of course they're right next to Moore Lake. So they usually want to know how well the treatments are going. They'll let them know that they help with their customers. Mandy, did you have a question? Commissioner? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, just mostly comments. So thank you guys. I know you come here every year to present, but I just have to, so Alex in particular, I mean, we kind of started at about the same time at MCCD, and you've done such a great job with the education and the energy. Just a couple things that I just wanted to, I guess, comment on. Commissioner Heinrich started out talking about, like, most of us think about it as nuisance, which is true, it's a pest. But when I got on this committee or this board, I mean, understanding the science and the depth of the work was so incredibly interesting to me. I want to talk a little bit too about your budget that you touched on. So just to put it in perspective for the public, so it is very difficult for you guys because you don't want to have a lot of money, just sitting around in there. You've got a lot of work to do. At the same time, you're so dependent on the weather, and it is volatile. So kind of walking that line with your budget is extremely challenging in any given time. So I wanted to point that out. And then to all of us too. So Alex was talking about part of his job is community outreach. So our schools and our cities and our parades, and put Victoria to good use. He does a really great job with that. And then I just have one question actually. So you mentioned the entomologist is retiring. Do you know, is it are you hiring a female entomologist that's replacing her, or you're not sure yet?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, we are right now in the hiring process, and so that we have not made our determination.
Okay. The only reason that I was asking, so just a little bit of trivia. So since 1958, there's always been a woman lead entomologist, which I thought was actually pretty unique. So good luck though with that search, and we'll see where that lands. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you again for coming, and we appreciate this every year, and we'll see how the mosquitoes go. Have a good one. Moving down, while we're talking about mosquitoes, you know, April is also Severe Weather Awareness, and we have Severe Weather Awareness Week taking place this week from April 7th through the 11th. This is a great time to make and practice your emergency plan and build or restock your emergency preparedness kit. There will be 2 tornado drills Thursday, April 10th. The first drill will take place at 1:45 p.m. and the second will take place at 6:45 p.m. The first drill is intended for institutions and businesses, and the second is intended for second shift workers and families. Minnesota experiences on average 29 tornadoes per year. Understanding this threat and knowing what to do when a tornado approaches can save lives. Families, neighborhoods, and the communities alike are encouraged to create or update emergency plans to ensure proper preparedness in an emergency weather event. Another nugget that we have for you here in the spring is that we have the Mississippi River cleanup events, which each year for the last, I think this will be our 3rd year of doing this. We kind of teamed up with some other counties along the Mississippi River to do some cleanup every spring. And we're going to have 3 opportunities to volunteer with our Anoka County Park staff this spring. The events are from 9 a.m. to noon. The dates are Friday, April 18th. That one's at the Coon Rapids Regional Dam. Tuesday, April 22nd, we will be at the Riverfront Regional Park in Fridley. And on Saturday, April 26th, at the Mississippi West Regional Park in Ramsey. There will be information on our AnokaCountyParks.com site. There's even a little scanning insignia thing, I think, that shows up that you can get the information onto your phone. But we'd love to have the volunteers come out. There's a little picture here on the screen of some of the volunteers that we worked on last year. It's a great time to be out there. I think the water is going to be about the way it was last year. It wasn't too high, so we didn't have any problems, especially at the Mississippi West, where we had some issues 2 years ago where we couldn't go too far down the riverbank. But this year I think it'll be good, so we'll have some opportunities for people to get out and clean up a little bit along the riverbanks. It's a great opportunity to see what's happening in your parks, and this year we are adding that regional park in Fridley for those down in the Fridley area to join us. But so it's Coon Rapids Regional Park in Coon Rapids on Friday, April 18th. Tuesday, April 22nd at the Riverfront Regional Park in Fridley, and Saturday, April 26th at the Mississippi West Regional Park in Ramsey. I've got information here. I know that we were talking about they can't predict the weather, they can't predict mosquitoes. I see 70 degrees plus each day, so it's going to be beautiful. And there's a phone number, 763-324-3413. You can RSVP, but go to our website for the parks, and they will get the information to you. And that concludes I'm sorry about that, Chair's remarks, but we had some great information to share with you today. Committee of the Whole recommendations. We'll move on to Management Committee and Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee of the Whole for Management, we met on Tuesday, March 25th. So there is before us on the consent agenda several travel requests. So this would be A through F in total. I won't read them all, but you can see that there is a variety of training or conferences going from IT, library, human services, the job training, also for social services, and in corrections. These again are all for various employees for their trainings. So I will go ahead and move that as a slate and A through F.
We have Commissioner Meisner made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schulte. Any questions? Seeing none. There's a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Heinrich.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item, or informational items. Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So for under informational, we have been going through a lot of union contracts. So mostly this would be for A through E. These are a variety of contracts, union contracts, all under the law enforcement. We are almost completed with all of them, so I am really excited about that and really appreciate all the work that goes into that. These have actually already come before the board and approved, but this is under informational. And then we did have a closed meeting as well that day that we closed the meeting and then opened it back up, and that went also to the board last time around. So with that, that includes or concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move down to transportation and parks, and with that, the consent items for Commissioner Jepson.
For parks, do you want me to do parks?
I'll have you go ahead and do parks too. It's highway and parks, so you might as well go grab them both.
Okay, since they are very different, I'll just start with parks and then move on to transportation if that's all right. So the first item on the consent agenda for parks is contract amendment C00106770A with Bolton and Mank in the amount of $23,452 for a cultural resource monitoring reconstruction at Banfield Lock Historic House Foundation in the city of Fridley. The second item under parks is contract amendment C00093338 to TKDA in the amount of $30,000 for additional professional engineering services related to the design and construction of Bunker Hills Water and Sewer Project. The third item is contract C001148 in the amount of $117,835.06 to Dunaway Construction for restoration at the Rice Creek Compost Site project in the city of Lino Lakes. And the final item on the consent agenda is contract C001145 in the amount of $204,064.90 to Bituminous Roadways for the Mississippi River Trail for the Rivenwick Trail Reconstruction Project in the city of Ramsey. And with that, Mr. Chair, those are the 4 items on the consent agenda that I will go ahead and move.
Oh, great. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jepson, seconded by Commissioner Meisner. Anyone wish to move anything off the? Oh, Commissioner Meisner, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. No, I don't wish to move anything off. I did just want to make a comment about one of them, actually. So this would be under item number 3 under parks. So Commissioner Jepson mentioned about the Banfield Lock Historic House Foundation being repaired. And so what this is a contract or amendment for is we do need to hire an archaeologist because there's enough artifacts that were found in that area. So just since we need to do this as requirement by law, I am hoping that we can actually kind of maybe mix this up into some kind of field trip for some of the Fridley schools around that area while they're there. It's not too often that we get an archaeologist in the area, so I did just want to make note of that. I don't know if it will actually happen yet, but that was just an idea that I have that Jeff Perry in Parks is going to be exploring, and then if that does work out, that would be occurring then in the fall then of 2025, but just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Anything else anybody has? We had a motion and it has been seconded. All in favor signify by saying, oh, I'm sorry, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte. Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Heinrich.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. On to transportation consent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I apologize, I didn't start appropriately with the parks report, so I will continue with transportation. We met on Tuesday, April 1st at 1 p.m. All commissioners were present. There was no one there for public comment. There are 2 items on the consent agenda for the board to consider for approval. The first item is Resolution 2025 TR13, a resolution authorizing Anoka County to enter into contract C001149 with MnDOT. This is a contract in which the highway staff submitted an application to MnDOT for local bridge replacement program. They approved our application and have awarded us $3.4 million, which will go towards the pedestrian trail improvements along the 44th Avenue Bridge over the BNSF Railway in Fridley. Construction is expected to begin 1 week from yesterday, so on April 14, and is scheduled to be completed the spring of 2026. The second item on the consent agenda is awarding contract C0011506 in the amount of $7,672,796.07 to North Valley Incorporated for the 2025 Countywide Overlay Program. There are 6 different corridors throughout Anoka County which are included in this program, all of which I'm very excited to see happening. They are all listed on the screen right now, they're all shown on the screen right now in green, highlighted. Or you can go to the county website to see which of your community areas are going to be impacted by this overlay program. So I just wanted to comment that North Valley's bid came in approximately $1.2 million below the engineer's estimate. So any budgeted dollars not spent on these 6 projects will go towards future overlay projects that were on the original list, but which were removed because of the added expense of that 44th Avenue Bridge over the BNSF Railway. So with that, Mr. Chair, I will move those 2 consent agenda items.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Heinrich. Any discussion? No? Okay. Seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Heinrich.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Informational items, Commissioner?
Yeah, there were a number of informational items, 3 of which we approved for the county engineer to move forward with some projects, one in Oak Grove, one in Columbia Heights, as well as one in the city of Fridley. We had I found it fascinating, I found it very, very interesting. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about it, but we had a great presentation from Anoka County surveyors and GIS staff about their essential work in remonumentation of section corners throughout Anoka County. We are well ahead of our time and expectation to get this work done in comparison to the rest of the state, and I just want to commend those surveyors and the GIS staff, and actually this board too, for taking the initiative to prioritize the work that needs to be done so that all of the parcels of public and private land are appropriately monumented, because I mean, land ownership is very, very important, and so is this work. So, so because of this dedication and determination of staff, we have an accurate representation of those public and private boundaries. In addition, what I found most impressive was the technology that now those GIS staff and surveyors can use, not just the current ones, but those in the future will have a very user-friendly, editable software to use in the future, so that we will not have to repeat what all this work has accumulated over the years. The final thing I want to mention is that I wanted to put a shout out to the Highway Department and our communication staff for updating the Highway Department's website. It's a very interactive website with lots of great links to see career opportunities, a calendar of events and meetings, and an interactive project map. So earlier we just approved the countywide overlay program, and so all of those projects will be listed on that interactive map, so you can see in your neighborhood the status of those projects and when they're going to be started, worked on, and completed, as well as the final thing on the website for current ads for bids. This is a great tool for everyone interested in what's happening with highway. And with that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Schulte?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a quick comment on Commissioner Jepson's last remarks. This really calls out our mission. What GIS and our Highway Department, specifically the survey team, has done here really talks to innovation and fiscal responsibility. They're putting this into the GIS system and melding it with the survey team and remonumenting the county the way they did. We're the first in the state to do it, to come up with this electronic program and a way to do it. That's innovative, and that really speaks to what this board has asked our teams to do. And that's that means a lot. It means a lot when this board compels our staff to do that and they take it serious. And so I want to thank them for that. That means a lot.
No, well said. It was great work, and it's very interesting. It was an interesting presentation that we had. Speaking of the parks, I just wanted to give Jeff Perry, our Parks Director, an opportunity. We had some discussion about the Bunker Beach Water Park, and one big change, kind of interesting change with going to no cash. So I thought we might as well start the conversation, as I'm sure a lot of information will be coming out to the public as we get closer to our opening day on June 7th. Okay. Mr. Perry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jeff Perry, Park Director for Anoka County. And as a pilot scale project this summer at Bunker Beach, we are going cashless at all point of sale stations at Bunker Beach Water Park. However, the public still can bring cash, and there'll be 2 kiosks, one outside of the gate and one inside of the gate, to where if you only have cash, insert the cash into the kiosk and it spits out a debit card, which then can be used within the facility at Bunker Beach for your admissions, concessions, etc. If the public doesn't happen to spend all of the money on that particular debit card, it's essentially the same as a Visa card that can be used, throughout the rest of the world. So it's again a pilot scale study. There are no fees associated with converting the cash to the card for the public, and it's going to really save efficiencies for staff cash handling, going to the bank, filling the cash drawers, counting it at the end of the evening. In terms of a risk reduction standpoint and a public safety standpoint for our staff for handling cash, there'll be some great efficiencies recognized there as well. And at the end of the day, it's going to create more efficient and safe water park operations for Anoka County and for the public.
No, it's something that I think the public has grown accustomed to. If you go to a Twins game, I don't believe you can use cash anymore. I think you have to have a credit card in, and that perhaps is happening as well at other sporting events and the professional sporting events, and maybe even college. But so people are becoming more accustomed to that. So I think it is a good time, and it works well, and hopefully it'll be efficient as we hope, and the public will be ready for it. But I will have information, I'm sure, going out on the park website and the Bunker Beach website, just to remind people as we get closer to the date. The other issues that we're going to run into, I think, at Bunker Hills will be some construction this year with some water. Have any updates on when that'll begin and what people can be ready to see?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The water and sewer connection project will connect Bunker Beach Water Park and our campgrounds to the south to the city of Coon Rapids water and sanitary system, which will be a significant benefit for the county because currently we're on well and septic, and there's a lot of associated operational costs with maintaining those systems. So we're very encouraged that the construction will be complete by the end of May for Memorial Day weekend, so we can open the campgrounds. The water park is scheduled to open on Saturday, June 7th, right after the Anoka Hennepin School District gets out for the summer, because 90% of our employees are high school students here in Anoka County as well. So that project will be wrapped up, but then the A Road construction and some other trail construction work will start this fall at Bunker Beach. So we'll be updating our website with all of those inconveniences that may result this fall associated with travelers that are going through the park, but they'll be well informed through AnokaCountyParks.com for updates, and we're looking forward to a very busy summer and a successful summer.
That's great. I think it's great that we balance get the water and the sewer done before the end of May, and then go out in the fall to finish or do some of the other construction, so that we're not bothering the summer months where people are coming into the park. But I know people will enjoy it. I've heard a number of people asking about when are we going to do some of the trails, mainly kind of on the northern side. I think a lot of the trails were getting a little older, and maybe the roller blades weren't working as well on those older ones, but they'll be newer trails, so that'll be our updated trail, so that'll be great to see. So thank you for that. And I also have C, item C is the transportation share report.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recommend that the board approve authorizing the county engineer to advertise for bids for the reconditioning of 109th Avenue between Lexington and just west of Sunset Avenue. Earlier on the agenda, we approved the 2025 countywide overlay program, but this specific project was separated out of that due to the amount of grading and excavation required for the addition of the proposed shoulders, turn lane, and bypass lane. Construction advertisement will begin this month with construction scheduled to begin in the next couple of months. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will recommend authorizing that advertisement.
Okay, we have a motion on that. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been offered by Commissioner Jepson, seconded by Commissioner Meiser. This does not need a roll call, correct?
It's just going out for bids.
Oh, that's true, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. We'll move down to item number 8, which is to consider approving employment agreement with Randy Prebill and appointing Randy as the Assistant Director for Public Health and Environmental Services Department effective April 8th, 2005. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Schulte. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Jepson. Any comment? Commissioner Meisner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I'm so happy to see this. I've worked with Randy a little bit, and I know what a needful position it is, for Janelle. So thank you so much for stepping into this role and applying, and best wishes with it. I look forward to seeing it.
Yes, welcome. We'll take the vote, but we'll have it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I premature? I'm sorry.
No,
It's
no.
probably technically premature in that.
No,
but...
no, no. I think you felt the crowd here.
Yeah, okay.
Any other comments? Hearing none. This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinrich?
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Welcome aboard. Item number 9 is to consider reappointing Mary Campbell and Jason Lund to the Coon Creek Watershed District Board of Managers for 3-year terms ending May 27th, 2028. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brassad, seconded by Commissioner Schulte. Just to let everyone know, there's just 3 people, 2 of them here that reapplied and just 1 other person. So we moved forward with them. They were just in their first terms, I believe, so we'll give them another round. Things are going well in the Coon Creek watershed, so I was very happy with that. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Is there anything else to come before the county board meeting this morning? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.